Let's get started. Number 10. You question everything. You're in a group chat and someone drops a spicy fact. Everyone reacts with a thumbs up. You open a new tab. You don't do it to be difficult. You do it because your mind has a reflex. Prove it. In psychology, this is called epistemic curiosity, the hunger for reliable knowledge, not just information. It's the urge to test the floor before you step on it. The upside? You avoid traps, clickbait, lazy thinking, shaky gurus. The cost? People may read your questions as cynicism or worse, arrogance. They want harmony, you want accuracy. Here's the reframe. Questioning is not negativity. It's respect. It says truth matters here. The challenge is tone. Ask like a scientist, not a prosecutor. Curiosity builds bridges when it sounds like wonder, not accusation. Bottom line, your doubt is a compass, not a dagger. You get bored fast. You crush the first week at a new job. By week 3, your brain is circling the parking lot looking for an exit. Meetings feel like a buffering wheel. You're not flaky. You're wired for novelty seeking and low tolerance for monotony, common in high openness personalities. Boredom to you is not an empty space, it's a pressure chamber. The danger is hopping from task to task, relationship to relationship, project to project, chasing the spark and never building the fire. The fix isn't to kill boredom, it's to upgrade it. Create internal quests, turn tasks into experiments, add constraints, attach learning metrics. Make a routine, then set one variable you'll tweak each day. You don't need a new life, you need a new level. Final note, if you can't find challenge, create it. You argue with yourself. You rehearse both sides of a debate in your head and somehow lose to both. That's dialectical thinking. Your mind runs simulations of counter-arguments before anyone else arrives. It's a superpower for strategy, creativity, and wisdom, but it's exhausting. Analysis becomes paralysis. You hesitate, second-guess, stall. The way out is to time-box the duel. Give your inner courtroom 30 minutes, then appoint a judge, your future self at T+1 year. Ask, which choice gives me more options later? That question cuts through noise because intelligence isn't only about accuracy. It's about optionality. Commit lightly, iterate quickly, keep your reversibility high. You don't need perfect certainty. You need progress with feedback. Closer. Think in drafts, decide on version 1, and keep the file open. You feel emotionally out of sync. At the party, you notice the micro eye roll that no one else caught. You feel the tension under the polite laughter. That's high social sensitivity, a double-edged blade. You're good at reading rooms and terrible at staying unaffected by them. Emotional bandwidth gets flooded. You carry home feelings that aren't yours. The hidden cost is compassion fatigue. You begin to avoid people not because you dislike them, but because you absorb them. The reframe is boundaries as technology, not walls. Use micro resets and step outside, change temperature, switch lighting. Take 60 seconds of diaphragmatic breathing. Build low emotion zones in your day. A walk with no inputs. 5 minutes of dumb humor. Tactile crafts that pull attention away from rumination. Your sensitivity is a radar. Aim it intentionally. You don't have to drown to know the water is deep. You struggle to relate. Your mind sprints, conversations jog. By the time someone finishes their sentence, you've already mapped 3 possibilities and a counterexample. That's processing speed and asynchronous communication. The friction shows up as interrupting, finishing people's sentences or zoning out while they're still on step 2. Others feel talked over, you feel stranded. The fix isn't pretending to be slow. It's learning latency management. New rule, mirror, pace, then lead. Reflect back what you heard in one crisp line. Align on the premise and only then accelerate. Use permission to fast forward as a social handshake. And remember, not every conversation is a whiteboard session. Sometimes connection beats optimization. Closing line. Your job isn't to compress people, it's to meet them where they are and walk. You're obsessed with patterns, you can't unsee them. Numbers rhyme, stories echo. Life looks like a matrix of latent structures. The psychological engine is pattern recognition, the ability to detect signal in noise. It powers innovation, comedy, investing, design. But there's a shadow, apophenia, seeing patterns that aren't really there. Humans are predictive machines. Bright ones are predictive factories. The solution isn't to switch it off, it's to validate. Treat every pattern like a draft hypothesis. Can it predict something new? Can someone else replicate it? Use a pattern journal. Write it down, score it after a week. If it forecasts well, keep it. If not, demote it to interesting coincidence. Protect your gift with evidence. Final beat. Patterns are maps. Great for navigation. Fatal when mistaken for the territory. You hate small talk. How about this weather? The phrase that makes your soul leave your body. You crave meaning, depth, purpose. That's need for cognition paired with purpose-driven communication. But here's the twist. Small talk isn't the enemy, it's the bridge. Bridges aren't destinations, but they get you to them. Think of small talk as calibration, finding the shared frequency before you play the song. Build a toolkit of depth ramps. What's something you changed your mind about this year? What problem would you solve if you had a week with no limits? Use gently, those questions pivot a shallow stream into a deeper river. Also, learn to respect lightness. Sometimes the most generous thing you can offer is ease. Drop the weight for a moment so others can lift with you later. Punchline, use small talk like a key, not a cage. You have a dark sense of humor. You laugh at the wrong part of the joke, the part that's too real. That's not cruelty. It's cognition meeting absurdity. Studies link dark humor to high cognitive flexibility, the ability to hold contradictions and still function. Life is tragicomic. Intelligence lets you see both layers without collapsing. The upside is resilience, the downside is misunderstanding. People might think you're insensitive when you're actually coping. Calibrate your audience. Use dark humor as self-medicine, not social shock therapy. Aim it upward, not at the vulnerable. And know this. Sometimes the bravest laugh you'll ever have is the one that makes room for grief. Final tag. Humor doesn't erase the pain. It gives it somewhere to sit. You overthink happiness. You catch yourself analyzing joy while it's happening, like pausing a song to inspect the waveform. That's meta-awareness in overdrive. You read philosophy threads, you track mood metrics, you wonder if your wonder counts. The paradox: the more you chase happiness, the more it slips through the net. The target you're after isn't mood, it's meaning. Happiness is weather, meaning is climate. Shift the question from how do I feel now to what is this for? Creative output, service, building something that outlives your dopamine. That's the durable stuff. Practice savoring without auditing. Notice, name, and let it pass without a spreadsheet. Keep a short list of joy rituals you never optimize. The song you don't skip, the walk you don't track, the dinner you don't photograph. Bottom line, don't dissect the butterfly you're trying to keep alive. You feel like an outsider. You can be surrounded by people you love and still feel like you're watching from the mezzanine. That's metacognition. Self-awareness so strong it can unhook you from the moment. You see your own thoughts, then you see yourself seeing them, and the world shifts a few inches to the left. The loneliness here is real, but it isn't a sentence, it's a vantage point. Outsiders make the maps the insiders use later. Your job isn't to fit so tightly you lose your edges. It's to belong without erasing your outline. Build selective tribes, 2 or 3 people who speak your dialect of curiosity. Invest in places that reward your difference, maker communities, research circles, niche forums, weird book clubs. The cure for exile is not popularity. It's proximity to the right few. Final line, you are not apart from the world, you are a particular angle on it. Now let's run it back with the same cadence. Example, diagnosis, conflict, reframe, punchline. So it sticks. You question everything, again with a sharper lens. Example, an influencer declares a sweeping rule. You pause, ask for definitions, scope, base rate. Diagnosis, epistemic vigilance, guardrails against manipulation. Conflict, people mistake your precision for confrontation. Reframe, pair your questions with curiosity markers. I might be missing something, can we test this? Punchline, a good question is respect in the language of truth. You get bored fast, but you can turn boredom into a lab. Example, repetitive task. You add a constraint. Finish in 20 minutes with one elegant shortcut. Diagnosis, novelty-seeking dopamine circuitry. Conflict, risk of quitting before compounding kicks in. Reframe, keep the job, change the game. Level design beats job hopping. Punchline, build the challenge you crave. Don't wait to be assigned it. You argue with yourself, so give your inner debate a referee. Example, 2 career paths. You write a 1-page brief for each. Make your future self the hiring manager. Diagnosis, dialectical processing plus intolerance of uncertainty. Conflict, stall. Reframe, choose the path that increases future choices, not present comfort. Punchline, opt for reversibility. Commit now. Keep doors unlocked. You feel emotionally out of sync because you hear the room's subtext. Example, you sense a friend's subtle withdrawal. You check in before it becomes distance. Diagnosis, social hypersensitivity. Conflict overload. Reframe, design off-ramps for empathy. Rituals that purge residue. Punchline, keep the radar, upgrade the filters. You struggle to relate because your mind runs at 1. 5x speed. Example, someone narrates a problem. You can already see the solution graph. Diagnosis, processing speed and anticipatory mapping. Conflict, disconnect. Reframe, mirror first, then map, then ask permission to accelerate. Punchline, pace is a kindness, precision can wait a beat. You're obsessed with patterns. Don't let them colonize your reality. Example, you notice a market rhythm. You paper trade it for a month before going live. Diagnosis, pattern detection versus apophenia. Conflict, false positives. Reframe, demand prediction with timestamps. Evidence or it didn't happen. Punchline, only call it a pattern if it pays rent in forecasts. You hate small talk, so use it like a runway, not a waiting room. Example, how's your week? Busy. But what actually made it meaningful? Diagnosis, need for cognition. Conflict, impatience. Reframe, treat small talk as calibration for psychological safety. Punchline, light words can carry heavy truth if you steer them. You have a dark sense of humor. Aim it where power lives. Example, you joke about the absurdity of corporate jargon while protecting the junior in the room. Diagnosis, cognitive reappraisal via humor. Conflict, misread intentions. Reframe, test for consent, punch up, not down. Punchline, laugh to make room, not to take it. You overthink happiness, point that horsepower at meaning. Example, you schedule creation time that counts even if no one sees it. Diagnosis, meta-awareness plus hedonic treadmill. Conflict, joy becomes homework. Reframe, measure integrity with self instead of mood. Punchline, let happiness be a guest, build the house for purpose. You feel like an outsider. Make it your vantage, not your verdict. Example, you turn observation into art, research, or mentorship. Diagnosis, metacognitive distance. Conflict, detachment. Reframe, choose micro-belongings. Small circles where your intensity fits. Punchline, you're not on the edge of life. You're at a lookout point. The hidden thread. If these signs resonate, you're not broken. You're tuned. Intelligence isn't a trophy, it's a temperament. It's curiosity that refuses anesthesia. Sensitivity that hears undertones, humor that metabolizes absurdity, pattern eyes that notice the quiet rhyme under chaos. The tension you feel, the friction with boredom, the loneliness of speed, the ache of overthinking, isn't proof you don't belong. It's proof you're built for better questions. So what do you do with all this? Make truth your etiquette. Ask clean questions. Separate people from claims. Let curiosity be soft on humans, hard on ideas. Design your difficulty. When life is too easy, build constraints. When it's too chaotic, build routines. Intelligence thrives on right-sized challenge. Install emotional guardrails. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're scaling technology for empathy. A sensitive instrument needs a case. Slow down to connect. You can understand fast and speak slow. Mirroring is not dumbing down, it's tuning in. Validate your patterns. If it can't predict, it's poetry. Beautiful, but don't bet the farm. Demand timestamps. Use small talk as a lever. Enter light, pivot gentle, go deep with consent. Depth without safety is just pressure. Steer your humor. Humor is a scalpel. Cut the nonsense, not the person. Give pain a chair, not the stage. Stop auditing joy. Let some moments be undocumented. Not everything needs a metric to matter. Curate your tribe. You don't need a crowd, you need resonance. 2 people who get it beat 200 who don't. Keep the outsider's eye, but step into the scene. Observation is a gift, participation is a risk worth taking. And when the world tells you to tone it down, remember, the light that bothers the unready is the same light the lost used to navigate. Your job isn't to dim, it's to aim. That's it for today. If you want more signs, more frameworks, more ways to turn raw intelligence into a good life, subscribe to see them.